Hello, this is Irvin. You're listening to Resilience Radio. I'm the host of the show and owner of Resilience Occupational Therapy. We're on again with Rich Marantz. Last episode, we talked about his nursing practice, holistic nursing, and a little bit of his history leading up to that and his background in Qigong and Tai Chi. Very quick disclaimer, as always, none of this is medically diagnostic or prescriptive in any way. Seek your own healthcare practitioners for your specific needs. And I wanted to follow up on our conversation that we had, for listeners, might be last week, but we just had it. You were talking about your history before you started doing Tai Chi as a bit of a self-proclaimed tough guy, I think is the term you used. So that sort of leaves me, when most people think Tai Chi, they have the image of a bunch of old people in the park doing slow movements. And when you mention it as a martial art, they kind of look at you sideways like, well, I thought it was just like nice breathing stuff. So could you speak to your relationship to Tai Chi as martial art and your background as self-proclaimed tough guy?
Sure. So, it's the way I see it with Tai Chi is that it has kind of three legs. It is an art of self-defense or a martial art. It is an art for healing. This is what many of us know about, right? For whatever healthcare, issue you have. And it's also helps us to live through our lives. It has a life philosophy built right into it. And all of these things are built into it. It's not, oh, I get this benefit or that benefit. So if you're practicing Tai Chi, you're practicing all three if you go deep into it and practice with principles and concepts. So you're just by practicing, you are doing all three, whether you know it or not. And I teach it as all three at the same time. I have a love for the martial arts. I grew up wrestling, and then as I got older and had a troubled life, I was fighting a lot. And then I also did, after I started Tai Chi, I did full contact fighting, Kung Fu for a number of years. But I've come to a place with Tai Chi as a martial art where in the way that I've had to use it, and is that not only if somebody attacks us, if there's aggression or physical violence towards us, we won't get hurt. That's number one, right? That I care about myself. I'm not going to be a doormat and let somebody hurt me, right? We're not pacifists in that way, right? I'm not going to let somebody just beat me up. So we're using the principles and concepts in the way we move in Tai Chi. We can just not get hurt. And at the same time, because I am a man of peace and I teach about the idea of peace, is I also care about that other person, even though they're trying to hurt me. So my goal as a martial artist is to not get hurt and also to not hurt the other. So we both walk away, even though they initiated the aggression. So Tai Chi is a martial art. We would never initiate aggression, right? I wouldn't just walk up to somebody and punch them in the nose. Anybody could teach anybody how to break somebody's nose. It's quite easy, right? Throw somebody how to throw a punch. But what's not so easy is to be able to just have that aggression, that violence come at you and not have it affect you. And also the next level is to care so deeply about human beings and the concept of peace that I can move you away and not hurt you in the process. Now, of course, if we have to, if it comes down to either I get hurt or you get hurt, we have that ability with Tai Chi. But I haven't seen it yet, right? I haven't seen a need for that yet. And I have been in situations where I've needed to do this practice of not getting hurt and caring for the other and not hurting them using the movements of Tai Chi and the energies of Tai Chi. So both people walk away for another day that we can talk. So that to me is the idea of Tai Chi as a martial art. And it's based on two major ideas. One is body mechanics, just really sound body mechanics and movement. And the other is the movement of energy through the body.
So often in the same conversation with Tai Chi, Qigong comes up. And my limited understanding is that Tai Chi is a health practice and medicine. Qigong, a health practice for and medicine, as well as a martial art, and that Qigong doesn't have any pretenses of being a martial art and is a health and meditative practice. Is that correct? And
It is, I would say, yes. There's more to it for sure. Um, so, and I practice both, and ever since the beginning of my training, I've practiced both. Um, my teacher, my Taoist teacher and Tai Chi teacher, he said to me one time that Tai Chi can be considered a form of Qigong. So Qigong being an umbrella term of energy work, and Tai Chi can be considered that. But when practiced with the idea that it is moving the energy through the body, it becomes the highest level of Qigong. So this was his, I'm paraphrasing a little. So and of course with Qigong, there's so many different forms, all the way from, like, I practice something called hard Qigong to build the yang energy of the body and make the body very strong and kind of impervious. And then all the way to very gentle, quiet, and there's sound and there's tapping. There's all kinds of Qigong that you can do. I see the two as very complementary to each other. So, like, last night I was teaching a Qigong form that moves the energy through the body, through what's called the 8 extraordinary channels. In Tai Chi, we want to do that. We want the energy to move through those 8 extraordinary vessels when we're doing our Tai Chi movement. But when you're learning all the body mechanics, where do I put my hand? What direction do I go? This and that. And thinking of all the body mechanics, it's very difficult, particularly towards the beginning, to be thinking in those terms. So what we practice the Qigong so that it infiltrates into our Tai Chi and they meet in the middle. So that when we're practicing Tai Chi, we're also doing Qigong. When we're practicing Qigong, we're still paying attention to our body shape and mechanics because we've done it so much in our Tai Chi. So they really go well so much together. But I agree with you that Qigong is more of a healing practice, but it prepares us for martial art. So it's to use Tai Chi as a martial art. I feel that Qigong is necessary to be able to use Tai Chi as a martial art.
Mm-hmm. And do you feel like the practice of Qigong and Tai Chi, which I've heard referred to as the internal arts or internal martial arts or internal arts, do you feel like there's any in other martial arts that there's any corollaries as far as internal things that approach it from that fullness of self first? Or I'm not sure if I'm expressing that well, but the qualities that of those internal arts, are there? Where else might you find those?
Well, it's, if we think of the yin yang diagram, right, which is the basic, the most basic idea with Tai Chi is that concept of yin yang. Within yin, there's always yang. Within yang, there's always yin. And it's always kind of compared to what, and in different quantities and qualities. So we can look at any art, any movement art, even if it is very external, is going to have a spark of internal quality to it. The person is still breathing, right? They're still going to be paying attention to their breath. Even the really hard karate styles, at their highest level, I've met some really high level, like Okinawan karate guys, that when they're practicing at the highest level, they're doing hard Qigong, right? It's really cool to see, and it's really apparent. And then, of course, you have the softer arts like Aikido, right, which is working with the flow of energy, right? You're paying attention to the movement of the energy, the force. You're paying attention to the movement of force. And I practiced external kung fu, or just kung fu. And even within that, although it dealt a lot with muscular strength and flexibility and speed and power and things like that, it still had that component of I'm breathing and I'm building that internal energy, even if that's not the focus. So it really comes down to where is the focus, where are you putting the main level of focus? Whereas, say, Tai Chi, we're looking to use as little muscular strength as necessary, only use the amount of muscular strength as necessary, and allow, say, like the energy through the fascia to move our body, right? So it's a very subtle art, right? That's why I think it takes so darn long to learn, right? Or to understand it. Whereas to, say, learn how to do like kickboxing or wrestling, it's pretty for and not I use the word gross, but more the gross of like it's just very basic, right? Although of course somebody at the highest level, they come to an understanding of it even if they don't know that they are. So like when I wrestled, it was about certain techniques and strength, right? That's what it was all about, right? When I did some kickboxing, it's like learn how to kick, learn how to punch, and be as aggressive as you possibly can, right? But had I stuck with those arts throughout my life, it probably would have led me to more internal aspects of it because you less rely on those externals. Yeah.
So are there lessons for someone who's not going to make a lifetime practice of Qigong or Tai Chi? Um, do you recommend whether they're an athlete or martial artist or just regular human being who deals with what we deal with? Um, do you think that the benefit of taking a few Qigong or Tai Chi classes versus deepening whatever practice you already have, do you have any insights on how to be selective with that?
Yeah, I think, even us irregular, so we have the regular people, as you said, and then us irregulars who practice martial arts.
That wasn't really my intention, but I'm going to stick with it.
Us irregulars. So whether you're an athlete doing a movement art, a sport, or a fighting art, I think anybody can benefit from deepening their understanding about the way their body works and their minds work. So even if they took, say somebody is an athlete, right, a soccer player, right, and they take a workshop on qigong breathing, and they feel the energy moving through their body with this, because often people feel it right away, right? Not everybody, but most people do. If with the instructor, they'll start feeling energy moving, they'll feel something different. It sparks something to say, wow, there's something more here. So even if they don't ever take it again, they know inside of themselves there is something more to who they are as a human being,
Mm.
right? So it's never a wasted thing to get exposed to something, right? So I think anybody can benefit even if they don't pursue it.
Mhm. And my own philosophy that I've sort of been working on as far as a healthcare practitioner and a martial artist, and this idea that like we tend to have a very um I would imagine I think of it as puritanical and post-industrial revolution, this idea that we assemble our skill sets in this linear way, that you learn this and then you learn this, and softening that and letting things be, that like the river kind of, that we're not there isn't one way to become a nurse. There isn't one way to learn how to do any of the arts or practices we do, and to be seeking, um, how do we add to that, and what does our practice look like today? Is just something I've been thinking about. That it's not that I can get too rigid in this is the proper progression.
Right. Yeah, I think it. if we have them, so where I've come to with my own practice is my goal. I'm not a goal oriented person. I'm a very process oriented person. But the reason I practice, I guess I should say, or what gets me up in practicing, is the intent that I want to find my true nature and let that be and let my life be an expression of that, right? Whatever that may be. So how can a prescribed set of practices help me find that somebody else has for me, help me find my true nature? Only I can do that. Now, of course, when I'm learning, particularly at the beginning, I need to be like this and learn the prescribed steps to learn that particular art. So I don't get confused bringing everything else into it. But as I learn this particular thing, or maybe I just got exposed to something. I mean, we've all gone to festivals and workshops and things like this and just get exposed to something we may never practice in a million years. It's just we don't bring it into our home practice. But um, it still it still comes with us because we learned it and we were exposed to it. So it still plays a role in helping us find our own path. So I think ultimately, personally, I feel that you do your practice, I do my practice, and I hope you find your true nature, and I hope I find my true nature, and I hope we both reach our potentials as human beings. Because I think in the end of the day, that's what it's about. Um, and that's why I practice. So I've let go of many things I've learned. I don't practice them. I don't regret learning them. They were perfect. It's what I needed. And I have my practice now that I do. And I had somebody one day about a year ago really got kind of angry at me because I wasn't doing enough of one. And she had never met me before. Not doing enough of one particular practice. That is part of my practice. But at the time, so it was standing meditation. And at the time, I was really delving deep into my sitting meditation practice because that's where I needed to be. And sometimes I delve into, really going into my Chan Chuang standing meditation. And she really got like kind of angry at me. I was like, but you don't even know me. You don't know my path. So I'm doing me. You do you.
Mm.
Right? You do your practice and I do my practice. So we have to be very careful, particularly as teachers, not to be rigid, not only for ourselves. What are we drawn to? Not because it's the new next exciting thing, because that's what a lot of people, we've probably all done that at the beginning, right? We become collectors of different
Mm.
arts. I want to try this. Oh, this is exciting. This is exciting. And after a while, we pare it down to what's our core practices.
Mm.
But we have to be careful not to be rigid for other people as well. Who are we to say what they're trying next is not going to be the thing they're going to do for the rest of their lives? We don't know, right? We don't know what they're going to hold on to and let go of. So we have to let them find their way, give them that autonomy.
Mm. I love the empowering nature of that. That you're as a healthcare clinician as well as a alternative educator for health. That you it sort of really comes back to respecting people's path, and that we're just here to help them on their way a little bit, and maybe we're going to get some of it wrong, but we're going to try to help them, and that who knows where the journey is taking them next, and not having this very top down um, sort of clinician or teacher knows best approach, but seeing what we can offer.
Yeah, I think I agree with that, right? And whether I'm teaching Tai Chi, and of course, I happen to have been doing it longer, so I have been through many of the steps, but their practice is still their practice. I have to have that respect that they know their own body better than I ever will. They know their own self better than I ever will. And same thing with patients, right? And you may find this as a healthcare practitioner yourself, whether, that you may see in your practice that oftentimes people are really dismissed when they go to a healthcare practitioner, whether it's based on a first impression or looking in their chart at their history, oh yeah, they're just this. There's this immediate judgment, and then a symptom gets dismissed when the person is telling you right out that this is what's happening. And we have to learn first to trust that people know themselves, even if they don't know they know themselves yet. Right? Because that's where they happen to be. So, yeah, having respect for other human beings, and we can't do that if we don't respect our own path. Instead of thinking, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. Oh, I'm less than because I'm not doing what the next guy is doing. Oh, man, I'm looking on, we have social media, looking on and seeing these people doing all these health exercise, great martial arts, really cool stuff. Oh, man, I should be able to do that. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. Instead of just getting up every day and practicing and doing the best you can and give yourself a break, yet don't be lazy.
Well, it's such a pleasure talking to you and getting to know you a little bit in these couple of episodes. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on.
You're welcome.
Do you have anything else you'd like to share with the guests regarding Tai Chi or health or any other tidbits?
I think I'll leave it with the idea that look inward, pay attention to what you're doing moment by moment. And if things are not going well, live in that. If things are going well, live in that. Wherever you are, live in that, and then just choose your next action. I think it's as simple as that.
Oh, thank you again. You've been listening to Resilience Radio. I'm Irvin Eisenberg. The music is brought to you by Aaron Marcus with their tune Some Biological Process. If you liked this show, if you liked this episode in particular and you didn't hear the one prior, check out that. And in general, check out future episodes, subscribe, share it with a friend. I try to showcase just different conversations and different opinions every week. Until next time, take care.